Welcome back to another episode of Progress Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Afia, and I'm with my co host, Franz. And today we are diving into the episode titled Spirit of Comparison. Now you could think, spirit of comparison, what can that be? But that can be linked to so many areas of our life, self consciously and consciously, that we don't even think about. So let's get into it. How you doing, Franz?
Good, I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. We are in the second month officially,
Oh, man, it's flying.
right? That's how it, after January. January is slow, then boom, head speed,
Yeah, no.
head speed,
February normally flies.
right?
Yeah.
So, spirit of comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, like, if you're being honest with yourself, that there's like areas of your life that consciously and unconsciously that you compare, with others?
Um, I wouldn't say for myself personally it's something that I focus on, but as being a human being, I'm sure I do, and we
Mm-hmm.
all compare ourselves because the outside world is a big mirror, and we forever looking at that mirror, and try to either amount to something or do as well as somebody else is doing or you know or just um saying to yourself that you're not doing as much as you should be doing because the next person is doing better.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure we all been through that, and that's just a constant thing that we go through because at the end of the day we all human, and sometimes we tend to catch ourselves doing things that that's not healthy for us because especially and I think comparison is definitely one of those things that we do, and it's not always a good thing um when you compare yourself to others or compare your achievement to others, or try to lowball yourself and say that someone is doing better than you just because they have more than you, because they having better success, and in life draw them a better hand. But that's not always the case because I feel like people, we all have our time if we work hard enough on our craft, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I definitely feel like that's something that a lot of us struggle with. What about you?
Like you said, it's not something that you set your focus on, but you know, obviously, as a human being, you're going to maybe not compare your success or life to others, but take a look at your life and wonder, why you're not in certain stages of your life. Yeah. But I
Hmm.
also feel like when those feelings come about, it's because of the things that we are feeding ourselves subconsciously, right? Like
Yeah.
being on social media, looking online, looking in shows and videos, and they'll paint this picture, and then, subconsciously, maybe you'll say, okay, well, TV says that at 30, I'm supposed to have this and this and that, you know?
Hmm.
And that's comparison right there. It may not be somebody that you know, right?
Right.
But now all of a sudden you think your life is in shambles because of what you're watching. And now
Hmm.
your mind is like painting a false narrative that maybe you're living, your best life. So I feel like it could be um both conscious and self-conscious. Obviously, conscious is like when you're comparing yourself and you know it, or just like again the things we feed ourselves on a daily basis.
Right.
But it could even, look be like when you see someone on TV that's fit and you're like, okay, now I feel fat, or see like red carpet looks and think like, oh, how come when I get dressed I don't look like that, right? But when
Mm-hmm.
you just really like dive into it, you're like, okay, they have stylists, they have trainers
Hmm.
and stuff like that. Because I always remember when I was like a teenager, and you would see, when like the our age when they had magazines.
Right.
I mean, they still have magazines, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would see like 20 something year olds, and you're like, oh my god, they look so fit, right? They look so fit, they look so beautiful, and then you think about the people in your everyday life, and you're like, damn, why they don't look like that? You know what I mean? Yeah. So you idolize them, like, oh my god, they're just drop dead gorgeous. Like, look at their bodies, and then you're just thinking in yourself like that's the goal, that's the attainable. But then you realize again they have trainers, nutritionists, hairstylists, people that dermatologists,
Yep.
and then when they take all that off and you see these candid photos of celebrities, they look just like me and you.
Yeah.
Then you realize there's air shot, there's air Photoshop and stuff like that. And they're like, they don't have abs, they don't have this. And then there's plastic surgery. So that's one thing I could definitely like remember when I was younger, just wanting to look like these celebrities until like I grew up and really realized they don't look like that.
Yep. It's
And
not
it's
what.
a lot of work.
Yeah, it's not what it always appear to be. Because they have basically them. They on their job.
Hmm.
That's what they do. That's what they getting paid for. So they got to be at their finest whenever the camera is on. So that's kind of um what a lot of us used to fail to understand is that those people, they on there, and they on there for a purpose. I mean, they're on there for a reason. Of course, they forcing that narrative on us, like people in general. Of course, some folks will understand that that they're just acting, or they just working their jobs, working their purpose, whatever it is that they're doing. But also, you also have like other innocent people, or people that just don't really take the time to process the whole thing and don't understand the difference. Sometimes until it's like too late, because you would have people that, like, especially kids, teenagers, that look up to these celebrities or people um that's in media, and they would want to be like them. They would want to look like them. Some people have gotten plastic surgery just to look like their favorite artist. But sometimes, you want to look like that artist, but like you just said, that person don't even look like that. Because as you can see, sometimes when people put on makeup, they look like a totally different person. So when they take off that makeup, it's like, boom, there goes their regular self. And you were like, okay, they don't look like that awesome, beautiful person. It's still beautiful, but it doesn't look like that face that I was trying to look like. And to find out, it's just a face.
Hmm.
And it's you gotta try to understand that. Like, it's you have to be yourself, and try not to get caught up in all those mix. Especially the stuff that they feed in us. You got to be able to separate the truth. You got to be able to separate, the real from the fake, because a lot of things that you see on social media, a lot of things you see on TV, doesn't necessarily mean that's exactly how it is. Doesn't mean that that's how the person is living 24/7. That's how they are when the camera's on, but they, a lot of these folks go back to their regular lives and live, enjoy themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta do the same thing for yourself. Just know who you are and just know that you have something to offer too, and you don't really have to be like anybody in order to be great, in order to look good. You don't need to look like the next person. You could look like you. You could do your own thing, have your own style, have your own way of doing things, and that's how that's. I feel like that's the only way you will really be happy. Is to to be yourself, to be truly happy. Sometimes we'll be like, oh, I want to do things like this person is doing it. I want to live like this person is living, so I can be happy. But it's gonna be a temporary thing. It's you can't fake it for the rest of your life. So you could fix certain things for a period of time, but there's gonna come a time when you have to probably have to face yourself, look into the mirror and fix yourself, and be like, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing? Especially, to the kids. So it's tough for kids. It's tough for the young kids because, as this when they see certain things, there's so much going on, there's so much distractions, and their mind is not fully developed. So of course they can easily fall for the trap. Don't you see like certain people? They start changing. Like when you're in high school, you in lower grade schools. People act totally different. They're immature. They're still learning, they observe everything, they pick up bad habits, they pick up some good habits. It's like, you're a microwave, so
Mm-hmm.
you just picking up all different type of stuff. Sometimes it's good and most time it's bad, but it's because you not fully equipped yet. So because you have a lot to learn, so you gotta you if you're not surrounded by positivity, is a strong chance that you're gonna be influenced by a lot of negativity. So especially if you're not um, mentally strong, some kids are just from a young age they already have like a good head over the shoulders. Especially if it depends on how you grew up too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of parents have that strict. You probably came from one of those households. Have that strict, discipline. Where
Mm-hmm.
you know right from wrong, where you know what's real and what's fake, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing when you're in and out of the house, when you go to people's house and stuff like that. A lot of us was, I know those things was um, planted into my skull at a young age for me to, just know certain things. And those things really help. It helped me, um, from a young age until adult. Then I'm like, oh, I already know that. Oh, I already know that. So it's like, you might not always practice it, but at least you learn. You have good discipline. So parents play a big part. So if you have grow up in a household where they discipline you and teach you the real stuff that the world have to offer, and not sugarcoat it, and then you try to surround yourself with like-minded people. Don't just follow the crowd, and you know odds are better for you when it's like that. You know what I mean? Clear?
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here thinking, like, do you think that overcoming comparison is something that we will, as a human race, will ever get over. I mean, in my opinion, I feel like you can't compare because everybody's grace is not your grace, right? Everyone's path is not your path. And
Hmm.
sometimes, especially with social media, people show you what they want you to see, right?
Of course.
So it's like you may see someone and they look happy, but that doesn't mean
Doesn't mean that they're happy.
that they're
Looks.
happy. So do you want what they have along with their problems as well? You know? So those are things to consider when you get caught, in
Yep.
that comparison. Like, okay, their life is good, it's cool, but do you really want what they have?
Right.
Because you can't pick and choose, right?
I mean, I feel like that's probably something we always gonna, battle with and struggle with,
Mm-hmm.
especially, with just the direction that we going in life. Period. Like, the world. Um, and with, especially with technology, how you just seen everything, and like you said before, people, would try to sell you certain things, just say, this is how you should be doing things, blah 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 and stuff. And seeing those things on social media and seeing those things happening in front of your eyes, like, it's kind of hard to not, like, want to, to think about it, like, because it's like I said, it's so much distraction. And then, it's almost as if, when those things are happening, you always have to give yourself a pep talk. Just be like, what's this is not for me, like, you gotta kind of you kind of have to try to separate what's for you and what's not for you. And like you're saying, looks can be deceiving. Just because someone you look well doesn't mean that they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't live in their shadow. You gotta live in your own. Don't just do things just because someone else is doing it. Because, like you said, you don't know their life. Like, just because they showing you one way of them living, or of things being so well, everything is so perfect in their life, doesn't necessarily mean that it's like that. Like, that person could have a lot of flaws. That person might have a lot of issues. But to sell, to sell and be successful at whatever it is they're trying to, like, do, of course they're gonna put out the good narrative. They're gonna put out the stuff that they know that's right, the clean stuff. Until later, sometimes, like, when it comes to, like, even celebrities, like, sometimes when people hear them of doing certain things, of hearing rumors about stuff, they be shocked. I don't know why they're shocked. Those people are human, they make mistakes. Of course, they try to be perfect, but nobody's perfect. So I'm not surprised, like, when I hear stuff about, like, people that's famous. It things, it's like, you 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 don't wish for that. You don't wish for the worst for people, but you kind of have to expect those things.
Mm-hmm.
Expect that it can happen, because bad things happen in your life. Not every day is your day. You have roadblocks the same way they have roadblocks. So you have to kind of, think of it the same way. So, I mean, I always say, don't pretend to be something that you're not. You know, because if you do that, like, it's gonna catch up to you. So you have to live in your own purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta chase your dreams, chase your own dream, set your own goals. Don't do things just because you see the next person is doing it, and you don't have any reason for it. Like, most of the time, like, the stuff that we do, um we should have a reason behind it. Like, everything that you do, you should have a reason why you're doing it. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you really look back on most of the decisions that you make, there's a reason why you make that decision. If you decided to fight somebody, there's a reason why you fought that person. If you decided to go after a job that you always wanted, there's a reason why you went after that job. That's your reason.
Mhm.
So just if you see someone is living a certain way, and yeah, it looks good, nice and fancy and golden, um, you don't know what that person had to do to, to achieve that.
Mhm.
Asking them questions, you know, appreciating what they doing, and it's good. Try to understand what's going on, and let's say that's something they have something that you want, or they have some stuff that they can teach you. That's fine. That's even better. Like at least you can find out some information that can help you shorten your route. But you don't need to envy that person, or you don't have to be exactly like they are. Maybe they have some golden nuggets that can help you fulfill yours, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be just like that person, or you need to envy that person, or hate on that person just because they have more than you. So yeah, so it's tricky. It's tricky, but because like you saying, before, like we all human, and will we be able to stop comparing ourselves to others, or stop looking at other people and just be like, oh, this person is very successful, I wish I was as successful as they are.
Mhm.
I don't think people are gonna stop doing that, but you can think like that and quickly correct yourself, because sometimes people use that as motivation. Like some people, like they could see somebody that's highly successful, be like, oh man, I would like to be as successful as that person. um if that's what you really want, if that's the field that you really want to be in, there's nothing wrong with saying that you would like to be as successful as someone else,
Mhm.
because it's coming from a good place. And you can use that as a booster, like to boost you up. Like, oh wow, sometimes you see somebody that's doing exactly what you want to do, and they're doing it right. So yeah, of course, you use that as a teaching lesson. Like I said, you could ask that person some pointers, ask some questions, you know, to see how you can go about, you know, heading there. So there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just like saying that I want to be that, just because you have to have a reason why you want to do certain things. Don't just jump into stuff just because other people is doing it. Don't just don't buy stuff just because you see other people buying it.
Mhm.
Don't try to like live up to some standards that you nowhere near. Or don't just try to keep up with people that's just have it. That look like they have it. Because sometimes people will see certain folks have expensive stuff, or they have the big house, they have all the cars. They want to do that too, just because they feel like that's where they should be in their life.
Mhm.
But it's not always the case. Like it doesn't just because, for example, just because you had a certain profession, and you feel like for example, let's say you're a doctor. Just because you're a doctor, it doesn't mean that you should have the big house right now, or
Mhm.
just because you see the other doctors that's been doctors, or you see the other teachers, or whatever athlete, whatever it is,
Mhm.
they have, but the big house, they have all the cars, they have this, they have that. Just because that's what they have, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to do the same thing. Like everyone is different. Some people don't like all that gloss. Some people don't like all that expensive stuff and showing off and stuff like that. It is not really showing off to the person that have it. Maybe that's just how they want to live. Maybe they can afford it, maybe they can't.
Mhm.
If you don't know, a lot of people live a broke on a higher level.
Mm-hmm.
So just because somebody's making a lot of money, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're keeping a lot of money either.
Right.
So just things you got to be careful. Because the reason why I bring that up, the comparison of career and and success, is because I heard that many times. I hear people actually say, "Oh yeah, I'm in this profession. I gotta get this car. I gotta live in this house because, people that's in that field and people that's doing this type of occupation have this by now and they have that. So what would I look like if I don't have it?"
Right.
Which to me doesn't really add up because you need to humble yourself. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. If you're not there yet, you're not there yet. If you can, hey, more power to you. But you know what I mean. Don't do things just because you see the next person have it, and then you feel like you should be at that position too, just because they're your superior, or that's the field you in, or yeah, or if they have that, I should have it too because we are in similar career. Everyone's battle is different, so you got to be aware of those things as well. Yep.
Absolutely. And one thing that I could say that you could try to do, because again, we're all human, right? And
Mm-hmm.
um, just as a point to try to find contentness or contentment in your life, you know, sit down, write a list of all areas of your life, how you envision, right? I'm actually gonna do this weekend because my beginning of the year mantras, my beginning of the year reset, right?
Mm-hmm.
Write a vision of how you want your life. So that's not just like, okay, I want a fancy car, I want a nice house, I want this. Start from everything. How does how do you want to look? Right? Do you want clear skin? Do you want straight teeth? Do you want I don't know, a slimmer body?
Mm-hmm.
And how you plan on working on these things. Where do you want to live? How do you want to live? What kind of car you want to drive? What kind of friends do you want? How do you want to appear to the world? How do you want people to see you? What kind of job do you want? And write out all these areas in your life and compare it to what you have now. Because your life is a reflection of your choices. So when you compare it to what you want versus what you have, let that be your comparison list, right? Because now you have no one to blame but yourself.
Right.
This person got a new car, you don't have a new car. Okay, that's how they choose to spend their expenses. But can you afford a new car right now? What is your budget? Do you need one? What are your goals? If it's not aligned on what you're doing, it makes no sense to compare.
Right.
These are the choices that you made. You wrote it down. So this is the things that you want. So when someone shows up in your life, or you see, or you watch TV, and you get the feeling of like, oh, I don't have. Well, you know, think back to the choices that you said that you wanted and how you wanted your life to live and on your life to look like. And I get it. That's not always gonna be conquered, right? Because I want a $10 million house, but do I have a $10 million budget? So
Mm-hmm.
it's writing it down, right? That doesn't mean it's gonna manifest and show up the next morning. But also with that, look for areas within that list that you can just be thankful of, and
Right.
know that you're working on it. Like you want, like I said, $10 million house, right? So that means I gotta work on certain areas of my life and create goals to get there and
Mhm.
celebrate the goals to get there instead of feeling like you're stuck and you're far behind.
Right.
So that's just something um, that I do so that I could, you know, get out of that whoa and that sense of like anxiety sometimes when you feel like you can't keep up with life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a true thing. That's a real thing. Um, you can control what you can control, and everything else is just non-negotiables.
Yep. You should worry less. As hard as it is to do, the less you worry, the more I feel like the more you get done. Because sometimes when you just worrying about all your problems and all your issues at the same time, you tend to just stop. Like like you had a frozen spot. Like
Right.
you feel like you're moving, but you're not really moving because you're so
You're so
overwhelmed with. Was that?
thinking about, yeah, you're stuck. You're thinking about the what ifs, the why, and why am I not there yet, and why is it taking so long, and
Mm-hmm.
my life sucks, I'm a loser. I've been there, and it's not in the area that I was like, oh my god, I'm comparing my life to others, but just comparing to what I felt like my life should look like based
Right.
on my idea of reality when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
So when the age comes that you're like, oh, I set out by the time I'm 26, I would have done this. By the time I'm 30, I would have done this, and it doesn't manifest, you're kind of like, whoa. But then again, it goes back to what I said. Your choices are direct to your your life is a reflection of your choices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Granted, you're an adult because kids can't make themselves, right? But as an adult, as a full independent adult, you have no one to really blame but yourself.
Right.
And sometimes, yes, things things don't work out the way you want to. But then you have to think maybe it's not within the right plan, or what do you need to develop to get there,
Yeah. Go back to the drawing board.
right?
Yeah, because there's different ways of constructing things. If you build something one way and it falls down, and maybe you should try to build it a different way. Maybe with a little more security. So it's the same way as like making plans in life and doing better in life is by like doing things and keep trying different ways. Like have a strategic plan. Don't like saying don't just do things just to do things. Do things by having a plan in place. Like set up goals. The best thing to do, like if you really want to be successful, and I had to learn that the hard way because before I used to be like, oh yeah, 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 I'm setting goals, yeah, 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 but I didn't write them down like back then. Like I would say that I'm gonna do things, yeah, you would accomplish certain stuff, but then sometimes if you don't have it written down and if you're not really serious about your goals,
Mm-hmm.
it's you're gonna start and don't finish. Maybe you probably accomplish half of what you really wanted to do because you don't take it seriously. But when you write it down and you could see it in front of you and you could go back to your book and see it, or your phones and your notes, whatever, it's that helps because it will bother you that if you wrote something down that was very important to you, that was dear to your heart, and then you see that you still didn't get that done, and every time you look at it, that's gonna push you to get it done. So you just gotta have a plan in place. You can't you can't make it to your next destination without having a plan. You can't just wake up and go to work and not having a job to go to. So if you everywhere you going, everything you're doing, like your entire day of even work, it's a goal. Like you go to work, there's a certain goals that you gotta accomplish. If you're a field tech, there's a certain amount of stops you gotta do. If you're
Mm-hmm.
working in an office, maybe there's, applications you gotta look over. There's interviews you gotta do. Like all those things are already putting in place. Especially a job, they already set goals for you. So if you want to advance your life, if you want to do better, if you want to see, the greater you, you really want to, find that giant within, you're gonna have to set goals, and then you're gonna have to, try to accomplish them. Plan your life. And I know it's not easy because when you're not accustomed to doing things a certain way, and then now you try to implement that, you're gonna fail. Trust me, you're gonna fail, and like you're gonna set goals, and you're not gonna follow through. But you know what? Do it again, and do it again, and do it again. Keep trying, and keep trying, and keep trying. That's what I've done. Trust me. I'll say that I'm gonna do something, and I'm fully committed. And next thing you know, I forget all about it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do, I'll go back to it. I don't care how long it takes. I'm gonna win this mental battle because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna let that get the best of me. So I'll just continue to try. It doesn't matter how many times you fail, because you're not in a competition. You're not competing with yourself. This is when it's even greater, because this is something you're doing for you. So you're not really competing with the next person. You're not comparing yourself. So you basically setting something, and then, you just looking to accomplish it. So it's not, the only person that you would be in competition with, it would be yourself. But it's really not a competition, because whatever it is you're doing, it's a beneficial for yourself. So I would say, just plan stuff, and then you just and see it through. Like Afia said, make your list and set yourself straight.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh yeah.
Well, it seems like we, we went off topic per usual, but still all relatable, right? Still
It's
all
all
relatable to life.
it's all relatable. You always gotta add those golden nuggets.
Exactly.
You always gotta add the same way you forget about them. That's why you need to hear them over and over again. Like I
Mm.
need to hear those stuff over and over. I wish I had somebody in my ear all the time. Like be like, yo, do this, do that. You would get it done.
Yeah.
Like if you like, especially as an adult. When you're a kid, it's perfect because you have people telling you. It's the perfect time, to be honest with you, because you have people telling you what you're doing wrong, what you should be doing right, what you're doing wrong, what you should be doing right.
Mm-hmm.
That's not gonna last forever. You gonna grow up and be an adult, and then when you become an adult, nobody's really telling you that anymore. So you
Mm-hmm.
could be messing up for years and years and years until you realize that you messing up and you need to wake up and get your stuff together. It's not gonna happen until you do it, because even family members, they might see you like, you know, battling with life, but they don't want to be rude. They don't want to discourage you. So, and they don't want to rub you the wrong way. That's the right word. They don't want to rub you the wrong way. So they might just let you be, which is not like, I wouldn't say it's the right thing to do, but sometimes people just gonna let you go through life and then just figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but back to my point of view, like having someone like telling you that you're doing things the wrong thing, that this is what you should be doing. If you have somebody in your ears telling you that each and every single day, trust me, you'll be very successful at a lot of things. But the in the real world, it's not gonna happen. The minute you become an adult, you not really gonna have all that in your life anymore. The only way you will get that stuff is if you search for it. If you don't push yourself to to new limits, you're just gonna remain at where you stand. So you gotta be able to adjust your education. Like you gotta like keep learning. Like just because you finish school, just because you graduate, I don't care what degree you have, you don't limit your learning. You don't stop learning. You
Mm-hmm.
gotta continue to learn, because school did not teach you everything. Like they teach you a couple of things, maybe what you're gonna be doing, like what you major in, but they did not take the time to teach you all categories and all the stuff that you need to really survive and all the stuff that you need to really advance yourself, or whatever it is. If whatever you went to school for is not working and you need to do something else, what you learn is not enough to help you start on a new field, to start you off on a new job. You're gonna have to advance your education, and learn something else. So I feel like, you should never stop learning. You gotta keep keep feeding your mind, keep feeding your brain new material, because it will get tired, it will get lazy if you just leave it and just don't do anything. If you just continue to do the same thing over and over and over and over again, you're just gonna get the same results. And then you wonder why, like, stuff is not changing in your life. So it won't be any changes unless you change,
Mhm.
unless you continue to feed it, because it's never full, and you never stop learning. Like, it's something that will never end. So you need to, like be a sponge and just continue to learn, and until you can't learn no more. You know what I mean? So that's very important. That's like something I try to like implement into my life, and just try to learn, from people. Try to learn from, you know, different platforms, whether it's um social media, as far as, like, it is YouTube, anything. Like, YouTube is a university. I'm telling you, for me it is, because the thing is, it all depends on what you use it for. You can find your good and you can find your bad. Me, I found a lot of Jews on YouTube.
Mhm.
YouTube and other platform, whether whether it's any new programs that's out now, like, it's all those things. It's is very beneficial. Just use them to your advantage, like, so whether it's Chat GPT, any of those stuff, like, use it to advance, use it to feed to feed yourself all the positivity that you need in order to continue to grow.
Yep. And I said it better.
Uh-huh.
Well, guys, again, um, we hope that we were able to give you some knowledge, um, of just the inevitable. Again, we live in society, so things, whether you believe that you do or not, it's reality, right?
Uh-huh.
Even when you're taking a test, remember back in the day, how come they finished before me? You know? So these things happen whether we think of it or not. It's just little tools and to guide you of like how to be more content for where you are. Because
Nothing you don't already know.
yeah, not that you don't already know, but if you know somebody that's like this, you could pass the information on. It's all about knowledge sharing,
Mm-hmm.
not victim mentality, not finger pointing, but just sharing knowledge to whoever needs to hear it.
Yep. Helpful tips.
Right?
Helpful tips.
So we reached the end of our episode. We hope again this was helpful. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube, our Instagram, Progress Mindset Podcast. Um, if you feel like we missed something that you do and you have any tips for us, feel free to leave us a comment or a message. We'll be happy to, again, soak in someone else's knowledge. We're always learning.
Yep.
And we'll see you later.
All right. Peace out.